So we're at the building stage, and Mark is now putting rings in here. Them all came, so we've got some numbers written down here. So that was a gap that came standard, 0.16 and 0.22. Now, because we're running boost, these have been increased. Now, Mark did maths and then scribbled out maths. What's the maths? Something to do with piston stroke and things, and the number of boosts we're going to be running.
Yeah, it's just the gap size, so basically just looking to increase the gap to compensate for high boost and lots of heat.
So, what will happen is these would expand, and if they expand when they're compressed, they would then end up joining together and then basically jamming in the cylinder, therefore causing piston to go bang. So because we're going to be running more pressure, more heat in this piston, we're changing the gap. So what we've worked out is this top ring. The top ring's 0.25.
Yes.
Yep. And then the bottom ring is going to be 0.026. So, and these are inches for anyone who didn't realise that we could never measure that in millimetres. So yeah, it's like the good bit. The things where these things will now have a nice happy home. So they've been my job, because obviously I'm got very important jobs, has been to scrape all the carbon out of the inside of there, which I think I've done quite a good job of, if I'm honest. But that took ages. Now what I've also realised is having 8 cylinders is great until you have to work on them, because there's 8 of them.
2 cylinder heads?
2 cylinder heads, basically like having 2 SRs. It totally sucks after a while. But it will make lots of good choo-choo noises and hopefully make bags of power. So this is really boring as well. Yes. The other thing about doing engine building is that it takes ages. Like honestly, we're 5 days worth of work easily. Like
building, it's the easy part. It's getting everything clean, assemble machine.
Yeah, all the there's so much stuff that we've been doing, and this is us now just putting it back together. Like everything, as you've seen, is cleaned and yeah, waiting on parts, just making sure we have everything. And we think we're there. But what will probably happen is we'll get to a very important part and find out something's not gone right. But keep your fingers crossed for us and anything else you can cross. Now you're going to find out the thing I am actually qualified to do in this garage. We now have all the pistons together. So I'm just basically putting some assembly loops, putting this stuff on. Just running it up and down here, just so that when we're torquing these up, there's going to be no binding. And then we're just getting the crank together. Just getting the bearings. So we're using ALC race bearings. Everything's a standard size. You can see on the back here it says standard, just at there, STD. So double check that those are it, and then we've got the other half and our thrust washers. So yeah, we're close to putting it together. Engine build with FD on. So one of the things Mark's noticed is when you put the bearings in here, there's 2 different sizes. You can see the 3 in the middle are slightly skinnier than the ones on the outside, and the bearings we've got have got this extra oil gallery in them. Now there's the part number for the bearings, so it's this one here, and that's the one that gives you the extra oil clearance. You see these bearings as well. Right, see this little groove in here? Right, that would be a locating dowel. Right, Mark's probably going to shout at me because that's not the right name. But anyway, but these bearings don't come with it. Now you can get bearings that do, but we've just been cross-referencing just to check to make sure that those are right, and they are. So putting the thrust washers in, so one thing to note is, see the little groove? That groove should face out. Now you can see there's that style of thrust washer, and we've got this one again with, it's got that kind of, oh, get my finger out of the way, that tab that locates it, and then again grooves on the outside, and that goes on cap 3.
Sponsored by Krusty Krab.
Totally is as well, but you know, there's the cost of building an engine, and then there's the Krispy Kreme, which isn't a cost. It's just, it's a necessity.
Yes.
So these are going, Mark's tightening them up to 12 first, and then they're going to 27, which we're doing at the moment. So we've done all 12, all 27, and then we're doing 90 degrees on top of that. She's back, that's cranking, everything torqued up now. It spins lovely. Ooh. Right, Mark's going to put the pistons on now, but I've got to leave. Just finished clearancing all the heads, so everything is in spec. We had 2 shims that were out from swapping everything over and putting new springs in. So we've got everything now in spec, which was, we did think that I might need to change like loads of these because of the shims that, well, the new springs that we were putting in there. We thought that might change the tolerance, but we were super lucky and only had 2 that were out with, and let's pick up all those. We had lots of options, so we went through, and it took us no time at all. But you can imagine if you got to change 32 shims in this, what you have to do, you have to torque this down, then you have to put measuring, you have to get your thing in here, your feeler gauges, put them in, check your tolerance. Then, if it's not right, you have to take all this off, get a new shim, hope it's the right size. You do measure them, measure like the one that was in there, and then measure the new one. So you can kind of guess if you know to put a bigger one or a smaller one in. Then you have to put this back in, torque it all down, then measure it. So it could take a bit of time, but it didn't. Sweet. Now, this head is going on, and what we're doing, as you can see, or what we're doing, what Mark's doing, is we got ARP studs in all of these. Apart from this one, we're using the original head bolt, because this head bolt, you've got the gears, and you can see the massive gears that are on the cam here. Now, guys will say you cut these down, but we're just doing this way because this we know works, we've seen it done before, and we've got all these other fixings in here to hold this down. We do not need one extra ARP stud that's going to need to be cut, and we're going to look at ending up, it's just going to be a pain in the ass, and this will do fine. Just doing one of the last bits. Here we go, let's see the state of the rocker cover we got. So sticking some etch on it, and then we're going to blast some colour on it. Timing belt on, just so you can see how it's all timed up. There's a tooth here, and they line up with here. There's little marks in the back here on both, so they line up. And then there's a wee mark down on the crank here as well. There's a wee little nodule bit you can see. So if all of those are lined up, and then also on the cams you can see there's these little dots. If you've got dots, you've got two, we got one dot on each side, and then there's also two dots. So when you turn everything, if all that shit lines up, it's
good.
It's coming together now. Front covers are on. Got a blanking plate on here, which was for the, this is the bit that holds the fan, not using a fan anymore, so we cut the front off that. Also modified, there's a tensioner that goes on here, so I'll show you that in a sec, which is deleted because I've only used the alternator and the crank pulley now. Because I'm doing every single thing to this car. All the injectors have come out, and I've sent to Chris at Dynatune. What you can see, he's tested them. So this is a machine, there's a video I've got of us testing injectors, and what you can see is that one there was way lower than the others. So we're binning one, we're putting a spare in anyway, so I'm going to put a new one in. But what we stupidly hadn't done is none of these were ever marked up. So I just sent them, or I just dropped off like a pile of injectors, and I had no idea which hole each one of these came out. So what he's done is he's marked each injector, so we know. So if I ever send them injectors again and that happened, then I'm going to know what cylinder that problem was with, because at the moment we actually don't know what cylinder that problem happened in. So doesn't matter, completely new engine, but it would have been good to know. Check out how this thing's turning out. We're painting everything with like sort of high temp paint, like the aluminium stuff, so shame we haven't managed to get in at the heads, but such is life. But it looks, oh, it looks good. It looks so good. So today, that is going in there. New clutch going on. Hopefully he's going to take 1,050 Newton meters.
She will.
And
good clutch.
Good clutch. So I got a decent deal on it. There's no reason, I have the CG, there's no reason I've not using the CG apart from it. We don't think it'll take the same power as that will. So I got a decent deal on this and a bunch of other things. So I've gone with that one. So hopefully that should be good. But next time you're going to see that, it's going to be in there and it's going to be making noises. And just like that, everything has been done now. We've got oil in it, no water, because we're going to go for the first start up and just make sure it actually has oil pressure. Oh, and we have a horn. See, like he took the piss out of me because I have a reverse switch on my gearbox and a horn, but he's happy about horns. Reverse lights for my reverse lights, because obviously, as you can see, there's a purpose in having reverse lights. But maybe in the future I might need a reverse light for an MOT. We're really close to making that thing live. We're really close to hoping that thing lives. Marks on the keys, checking everything.
Just calibrating.
Calibrating throttle position, making sure that we have everything. See, from the link we can tell if we've got oil pressure when we start it up. We can also tell if we've got fuel pressure. We can turn things like injectors and all that off, so we could turn it over first before we see if we've got the magical thing called oil pressure, which we're all praying we have. Most other things can be solved pretty easy. Oil pressure is a massive kick in the balls. Turns over. So we have oil pressure.
Nothing so far.
Oh,
I'll need to fill everything in all the lines. You'll not get much. I don't need to fire. Just pumping everything through, priming up the actual pump itself. Listen to how much better your starter motor sounds.
yeah, new starter motor in there. Should have never done that. Ignition on. Put fuel on now. Fuel is on. I can hear fuel running. 45 psi fuel pressure, that's good. No leaks. Gonna start it. It's gonna be the first fire. Did it make oil pressure?
Yeah, we just wanted to check whether I just killed it just because the fan belt was squealing really badly. Fan belt's really loose. There's not been any oil pressure yet.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
What we do here is go back.